Islands Park Harbor. We're leaving the headquarters on the Pacific Ranger, headed out to Anacapa Island. Came up into Ventura Harbor, docked a lot of boats. Here's the public entrance ramp, launching personal boats. Other marinas, including the harbor master, Coast Guard.
I'm just going to get in here for a second.
Okay. Lift it up for you.
Oh, I like it.
Leaving the harbor, looking back at the mainland, including the snow-capped mountains. Down to Ventura, laying on a hillside. Visitor Center. Leaving the mouth of the harbor. Heading into the ocean.
Put your mini skirt on for this kind of service.
605, 605, 603. Yeah, we're at the top of Tecolote Canyon right now. Things are going good. Don't take it yet, Unit 1.
distance, breaking out of the fog. Up on a school of dolphins right in front of us. Very large group of them.
Not real big either. It's nice, but it's not. I would call it nice.
Vessel We7.
Well, we're not in the park yet, that's why.
National Park Service and a camera.
Get him to play with it.
I only show one trip taking care of the independence where you show overtime. And it seems like there was another day in there sometime. You bring up the speed on that and we can pay your before.
This is the landing on Anacapa Island.
No, I'll probably.
You climb up a steel vertical ladder on the rock wall to this first landing. And from there you got a steel stairway all the way up to the top. You got a big crane up there that picks up cargo and lifts it from the boat. This is the Island Ranger, Mark Singh. boat we came out on. He's just backing off the landing here. We're going to go out and tie up on a buoy, pick us up again at 2:15.
Yeah, it's
This cliff over here is full of nesting gulls and brown pelicans. Comes one right there.
yeah, parts of the trail that
They were virtually destroyed by DDT 20 years ago. In the last 10 years, they've rebuilt back to very abundant nesters on these islands.
one thing happened there was the silt. The island.
One of those trail guys from the Park Service is so.
Is that right? No, it's not a rock hall, it's ice cream rock.
It's the first landing. And you come up these stairs to this landing. And you go up those stairs to Division landings until you get on top.
Is this where you do the underwater camera stuff?
Yeah, it's underwater video. I'll show you that.
This is a visitor entertainment center. We've got television monitors in these windows. The visitor can sit down and watch the television while the diver dives down here in the cove with a camera, and everything that he films immediately plays on TV screens up above. So it gives everybody this sense of scuba diving here in the cove. Pelican right at me. It's a lighthouse sending out its message. Gulls and brown pelicans resting in the water out around the anchorage. In the distance you can see the mainland. There's the white snow-top mountain range. You can't see a bunch more than that because it's the ground haze. So you can tell where the cold line is, where the haze disappears, and that's just about the snow line at the top of the mountain. The tour boats out of the Island Packers, Concessionaire, are going to boat to Wee 7 with a load of tourists on board. They've been out whale watching. Probably going to land, let them hike on the shore a little bit. brown kelp that grows around the edges of the islands, which is actually an algae. It doesn't have roots. It has an anchor they call holdfast, which look like roots. It draws all of its nutrients through its leaf surfaces. It's an extremely important element in the food chain here. Some friendly gulls sitting right here with me, enjoying the sunshine. Cruising the kelp beds, looking for something to eat. This is the crane hoist they've got up here, powered with a gasoline engine that they swing out over the dock, over the boats, and lift their stuff up from down there to the top. Visualize what it's like to do any construction out here. Everything's got to be hauled out by boat, concrete, sand, re-rod, lifted up here, carried to the construction site. Everything assembled by hand, concrete mixed by hand. Real different operation to try and do land management and developments on islands. This is the foot trail coming up from the landing, past what's used as a ranger's personal residence while he's on the island. Other old Coast Guard buildings are used variously for restrooms and kind of a bunkhouse for the people who come out and stay several days working on the island. And this one over here is used as kind of a makeshift exhibit room or interpretive room. This is a view of the island. It's essentially a semi-arid grassland, no trees, very few shrubs, very low, nothing over 3 feet high. The mat of vegetation you see here is an exotic that was introduced by the Navy. That's a member of the figwort family. Here they call it the ice plant. Kind of got a pinkish orange blossom, very fleshy leaves and stem. Because it doesn't freeze out here, it won't winter kill. They would like to get rid of it since it's an exotic, but there's so much of it they have no idea how to do it. It's extremely aggressive. This is looking back towards the mainland again, where you can see the snow-covered mountains right above Santa Paula. We can see those out the window of our RV back in Santa Paula RV park. That's the crane and the lighthouse. You can see all the gulls perched around the ground, resting in the sun. Everywhere you look, there are gulls resting. This is a former Coast Guard residence, currently a park ranger residence. You can see it's got a solar panel. There's no fresh water out here. Everything's got to be carried out. At one time they collected all the water off the roofs and so forth for the fresh water. But if you look at the white streaks on it, a number of birds perched on all the time, you can understand why they discontinued the practice of using the runoff water for drinking water. This is the so-called shrub that grows on the island. It's a coreopsis, which in the dormant season, which is usually the late dry season before the spring rains, loses all of its green branches and looks like a dead stub. But as soon as you get rain in the March-April season, it starts leafing out, as you can see this one is doing. And others here are going faster than it is, as it gets quite a few leaves on it. Then it also has a tremendous, brilliant yellow blossom. And you can see the whole hillside full of it here. It's one of the so-called scenic wonders of the Channel Islands, is the Coreopsis in bloom. This is the visitor center in the building, one of the old Coast Guard buildings. It's got a small exhibit room here. Got some examples of tide pools, kelp beds, or kelp forests as they call them, rocky reefs, seabirds and mammals. On the outside they tell you where to find the pit restrooms, tables for people to lunch on or to listen to programs on. Big seats for campfire programs by the ranger. They got log seats. This is a view off the south side of East Anacapa Island. Got a fishing boat going by. Looking down at the surf area. Beautiful tide pool area here during low tides. See the lighthouse on top of the ridge. Looking off into the ocean to the south. Most of the boats you see here are quite large, suitable for handling very rough seawater, so they're not speed boats. 20-30 miles an hour is probably top speed on any of these you see, but they're seaworthy. Looking down the aisle to the west, off into the far ocean. Back across the island. A foot trail I came in on. The hiking trail, kind of along the center of Anacapa, leads up to the two pit toilets that serves the designated campsite, which is nothing but a outlined area with some picnic tables and 6 sites designated for 6 groups, not to exceed 30 people at any one time. You can see all the Coreopsis shrubs in bloom everywhere you look. And off here in the distance is a seagoing ship cruising by the channels. The soil has got a very high sand content, therefore very erosive. You can see how the trails erode, even with all the little check dams in them. They don't get the water out of the trail, it's just a deep trough with check dams. Some brown pelicans cruising the edge of the coast. Looking back towards the mainland, you can see the big ocean going boat. The Hyundai, I don't know whether he's hauling Hyundai trucks or not, or Hyundai vehicles. Behind him you can see the snow-capped peaks up behind Ventura and Santa Paula. Lots of coreopsis shrubs in the foreground. This is the notch between East Anacapa, Mid Anacapa, and the other notch in the far ground over there, which is between the second and the third island of the Anacapa group. Looking almost due west along the shoreline out into directly into the ocean. Way off on the other side, you can see a large flock of birds, probably gulls, wheeling over a cove area. Some type of food concentration there to have them in a group like that. The islands essentially has 150 foot vertical banks like this on all sides. No way to simply land on the island without having to climb up a cliff. Pelicans fly. Here's there's a bunch of sea lions playing around down here in the kelp beds. I don't see them today. This is a different angle, looking down across the middle Anacapa toward the west Anacapa, and on beyond that to the big island of Santa Cruz in the background. Back there, on beyond it is Santa Rosa and San Miguel. What we're looking in here is Frenchie's Cove, as they call it. It's a popular landing area on the beach during low tide to let people get out and what they call a tide pool, looking for all the little critters that live in the area of the shore between low tide and high tide. Starfish, sea urchins, anemones, all kinds of clams, snails, lots of crabs. The dark areas you see is a giant brown kelp. Brown pelican sailing below me, riding the updraft. Wind across the face of the cliff. There's so many of them now, it's hard to believe they were. Coming down the west side, a bunch of gulls running the cliff edge again, riding the updraft of the wind. Another cruises this edge, riding out updraft. Look like a pair of prima donnas, don't they? Back along the trail, looking back at the island headquarters, lighthouse, looking across the campground about halfway down, looking back across the channel towards the mainland, the snow-capped mountains again. Kind of gives you a reference point. Barely make out the mainland in the haze. ocean-going ship is still in sight, although it's moved around to the other side of the island, headed south. Look at the Coreopsis. It's a very thick stand here. And the flowers chase the sun. They kind of turn their head and just follow the sun, so you can always tell where it's at. Sea lions, they're all laying down there on the ground just above the water, doing a lot of fussing at each other, barking. This is a species of animal that is used in circuses and zoo acts that bounce the ball and do all kinds of stunts. You can essentially walk on all fours. You can tell they're very sociable. They lay on and around and over each other. If somebody moves, it makes the others grumble a little bit, but nobody gets mad and bites anybody. See how they walk on all fours? Seals don't have the ability to walk on their hind legs, whereas a sea lion does. They all do better in the water. Loafing in the shade. Climbed up on the rocks to sun themselves.
If anybody's home, yes there are.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them down there.
How many of them?
Look at the gulls. Everywhere you look, there's gulls sitting around. Taking a noon break, I guess.
This is our pet raven named Jekyll. Or is it Jekyll?
Probably both wrapped up into one.
Got another one named Edgar. And then there's a new one that just arrived. Apparently,
This is a 2 wooden water reservoirs inside the water house where they keep the fresh water in the island. We bring out it on a ship, pump it up here and store it in these wooden tanks. I think he said they're 55,000 gallons each, although could be substantially more than that. The Island Packers tour boat, just resting at anchor till the crowd comes back. This is the arch, the trademark of Anacapa Island. See it on all the postcards.
Clear, back to 16.
I'm going to spin around, George.
Okay.
Clear, back to 16.
Shoot the other way.
Roger, roger.
Bunch of sea lions laying up on the rocks. Yeah, he corrected me. He says these are harbor seals. Yeah, you can see the spots on them.
Good, like this, just this line congestion, that stuff.
Full flock of brown pelicans.
Large. I do it. But she has a
The light color one laying up there by itself. A bunch of cordwood laying over here. You tell me those are California sea lions. Yeah, you can hear them barking.
although they were pushing their luck on Monday.
Yeah, well, they had a great. I think they left really good.
Great whale, Bo.
Getting ready to go. It's diving, huh? No.
That was right in the whale. That was right when they started with the concern about the failure of impact from that. So one of the jobs I had was writing the regulations to keep cruise ships when they were there. My job in the regional office was kind of staff park ranger as a combination of farm management officer, law enforcement specialist.
Roger, okay, we will.
See the little upwelling here of the tail prints. Seal. Seal. Down the north side of Anacapa Islands. We're running along the third one. Looking southeast into the second and first one. I see the lighthouse way down there. That's where we landed a while ago. Surfing the islands. The seashore looks like. Very steep rocky bluffs. That's the hole for all the sea lions were laying long ago. Lights up on top, looking down on them. Looking back at Santa Cruz Island. On down the edge of Santa Rosa. Off this way, you see the mainland. Oil drilling platform between here and there. Half mountain again, over Santa Paula. Big ocean.
Pirate here, C1. Channel 10. That's it, channel 10.
bigger. That's the only drawback. The site couldn't be better though. If it was bigger, we'd have to put it someplace else.
Where's the balance?